Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're listening. Welcome to the Divine Mess. It's our 42nd episode. Still surprised, still amazed, still feeling blessed about this number, and we keep adding more guests to come on board, keep inviting more people, and this year, like we decided, we have been talking about this, opening our virtual couch to more guests. So if it's your first time listening to us and you would love to share what you do in life, how you're serving people, please send us a message. By the way, my name is Kirti Deva Perumal, also known as Deva. I'm one of the hosts of the Divine Mess, so where we have fun conversation. And I'm a holistic life coach, also the cosmic guide at the Hero's Mystic. And like every single week, I'm joined by Tina Marie. She is a busy mom, like really busy mom. I have not been talking to her for a while now. So it feels really weird that we have not been consistent recording on Tuesdays because we had so many guests, but it has been really fun. And now we get some time now. I think it's the universe way of saying,
Slow
take a breath,
down.
slow
Take a
down,
deep
and
breath.
just do some reflection about one of the guests we did uh, last week. But before that, I will say a bit more about Tina Marie. She is a intuitive coach, a self-love coach as well, and busy mom of four. And she keep helping women around in different ways, I would say. Now, even in her GOB, she said,
In my
like
JOB, yes, yeah, my
JOB.
JOB, teaching women how to be kind to themselves. It's the one thing I've learned in the whole time in working this particular JOB as to how critical women are, how unrelenting their inner voice is in pointing out the flaws. They are not, inner voice is just barbaric. It's the nicest way to put it in terms of arms and bellies and legs and all sorts of features that people want to pick fault with. And then it's my role to pick the good bits and highlight the good bits and get them to see the good bits. And it's it's a very interesting reflection on the female part of the community. And and I found that at most points in time, women are really indecisive. They do not feel confident in their own internal voices and being able to make simple decisions. That they need the committee of everybody to agree before they feel confident in making that choice and moving forward. So for me, it's just an interesting reflection. But our guest that we interviewed last week is certainly not one of those ladies. She is a dynamo woman and far more courageous, I think, in some areas of life than I ever would have been, because she chose to homeschool her children. Bravo, hats off, congratulations, because you're a stronger woman than I.
Well, I think that's not true when you're saying that, to be honest. When you're saying like she's stronger than you, because I feel like every person, every guest that we had, and we had a lot of female guests, right? And we
We
had a lot
have.
of, there were moms who came on, there's more moms coming. And Juliana, that we had last week, she spoke about homeschooling, and she's a single mom, like raising three girls, and they were between the age of four, right? And four
Four and
to,
nine?
yeah, four to
Yeah,
eight, I think.
yeah.
And I do know like she loved chasing chicken. That's what I learned. But she also helped like others, like through her coaching, one-to-one coaching, a blog, and she has a really passionate, uh, like passion for Jesus as well. She talked about her Christian faith, all of that, but she really changed the perspective on homeschooling. And I
Mm,
feel that, like when you were describing about how you felt like women being indecisive, and I feel, and I just had a coaching right now, like just before this recording, and she's a mom as well, Indian mom, reaching near the 40, the famous
Mhm,
40.
mhm.
And so all the doubts are creeping in, and she feels like you just said, like, um, it's like coming down to that I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough to receive appreciation. And I feel that when you're saying like, maybe she's stronger, you see someone else stronger than you. And I
Mm.
feel like most women, maybe not even women, men as well feel that when they're looking up to someone and they feel like I'm not good enough. But actually, I feel this is a reflection of who truly you are.
Yeah,
Like
and I
they are
don't think it's a
represent.
case of not good enough. I think it's
Mm,
just sincere admiration for
mm,
someone taking on a task or a role that, look, let's face it, everyone can do anything.
yeah.
It's just time and space and the right elements all coming together. And when that elements for me sort of came together, I was like, no, I think for the sake of my mental health and the sake of the lives of my children, it would be best that I don't homeschool, because I didn't have a good point of reference to show me what homeschooling and trying to work full time would look like. Whereas when we spoke to Julianna, she explained her version of homeschooling, and I went, oh, okay. Could really take it from a very different perspective, because I've been raised in that background of that teaching model, I suppose, because my mum was in education. So there is a certain way of things being done. And it's really nice when you're shown that the everyday things like cooking and working in the garden and going exploring and all of those sorts of things, you're educating your children, you're teaching them about their own personal limits and about risk taking and being in contact with nature and all of those things that aren't necessarily represented in traditional education. But yeah, me being closed in a small box with two growing young men was not what I had in mind.
Would you have even considered it? Like I know you said before our
Well, look, I think
recording.
I think if I had have been in a different space, if I hadn't been a single parent, and if I hadn't been battling through my own emotional
Mm,
journey of dealing with all of that, if I had had a supportive partner who was doing their thing and you felt, yes, possibly, I would have taken the opportunity to explore what homeschooling could look like. But trying to just make every week possible, no. I needed time and space, because I had
yeah.
my boys full time. I needed time and space away from them, which meant I went to work and they went to school. Just so that when you came back together,
You
there was
balance.
a renewed sense of fulfillment, like, could go away and do these things, which then enabled me to be a supportive parent and a person that could handle the trials and tribulations that come with teenage boys and all the shiz that they're moving through, which is half the time a lot of stuff I don't understand because I'm not of that species. I am a little bit different. So their stresses, although similar, are very, very different because their perspectives are very different. So, I was really fascinated with her story and her ability to deal with single parenthood and going through the separation and divorce journey, as well as being able to hold space for her children in educating them, as well as holding space for other mums and dads who want to start walking that journey as well. So that's where the admiration came in, was just she has a great capacity because she's extremely passionate about that subject. So I think it gives you a renewed enthusiasm to want to keep that momentum going, and for other people to join you on the wild, crazy train that is, homeschooling and, nature schooling and all of those things, that are all those elements wrapped up together.
Well, yeah, and I can understand where you're coming from, like, because for me, the perspective about homeschooling changed during that episode, because I didn't know about the hybrid, which I was not aware that in the US that you can do hybrid. So which means like 2 or 3 days per week, which is a great concept. Like you can homeschool and you can choose, which allow you that time. And I feel that's a good balance,
Yes.
between uh like you were saying, to give you time to actually, for you to reflect and to sit down, to enjoy that cup of coffee, for example, and really no one like coming and saying, mom, mom, are you here? Are you, can I do this? And you can people are not saying this, but I can see how you're reacting to it, and I'm like, yeah, she knows what I'm talking about. And but you were talking about the admiration, and I would like to come back to that, because I can say the same for you. Like the way I look at you is like, yeah, you're a busy mom doing a full-time job, paid practically now.
Yeah.
Four boys,
Yeah.
surrounded by the men, and it's
Yeah, the
all
male
in a mess.
species.
The masculine. You even have a best friend who is a man as well, so it's like a masculine energy really
Mhm.
high around you,
Yes.
yet you still thrive in that. And I can still say that, like the way you admire other people that you are not aware admire you as well for what you're doing and what you're bringing to them. And that's what I want to recognize in you. And
Thank you.
I know that you're not happy that I'm doing it live, but I'm choosing to do
Yeah,
it because
the
because
comfort
I
level is
decide.
not exactly there.
Yeah, because I don't, because the way you said it, I'm not challenging you on that. Just to
Oh,
be
no, no.
clear
Well,
to
you are,
everyone.
because you're my friend and you will.
Yeah, because yeah, I can do that because I'm doing it on that episode because use it's not to put you on the spot, because we all do that with us, like we just see other people, we admire other people, but we
Mm.
forget that what we are doing for the world, like, especially
Well,
for moms,
it
because
has impact for a lot of people, like in terms of when I mention to other people that, I have 4 boys, and, and I have 2 goddaughters as well. So, essentially in my brain, there's 6, that at some point in time, everybody needs some sort of touch point, or a boost, or a hi honey, how you going, and no, I didn't give birth to all of them, but it doesn't mean that, I don't not see them as mine. So in essence, there is a sense of responsibility to a certain extent for that, that check-in, like, hi honey, how you going, what's going on, just the touch points, I think, are really important. And I think sometimes parents forget, and particularly when you've got teenagers, that they're in that shove away mode, that it doesn't have to be, intense personal conversations. For my boys, for quite some time, all it was sending a gif every morning of something stupid, Mr. Bean, or a cat standing on its head, or just something to go, hey, I'm thinking of you and I thought this was funny and I'm going to share it with you, just so that they know that they're not on an island by themselves. And I think most people, and particularly, when you're going through your own internal stuff, whether it be friendship challenges or relationship challenges or whatever, internally you feel that this is all happening to me and nobody gets it. But at the same time, if you've got an anchor point somewhere that will stop the merry-go-round when you need it to, I think that's really important. Something that you can kind of reach up and, when you're in the bus and they have the arm straps, just something that you can reach up and hang on to and go, okay, it's going to cease the spinning for a little bit, because let's face it, any normal job is challenging, but the minute that you have no separation from raising children, doing schooling, dealing with relationship challenges, when all of that is in one pot, I think the US do have a very smart model in terms of, yes, I want to be able to be responsible for educating my children in a way that I think is fit for them. But at the same time, they still need socialization. They still need to learn about conflict resolution and all of those sorts of things that aren't them family members. Because when we're family, we know which buttons to press to
Yep.
get reactions, to sidle up to mum and know that if we say something really sweet and lovely, I'm going to get another Oreo, or I'm going to get an extra serve of something. But at school, we don't have those buttons to be able to press. So then our behavior changes. So I really like that idea, because like you say, it gives parents that
Yep.
just a little bit of breathing room. So yeah, it's just interesting that
Because
I'm glad my children were educated by others to an extent for some things.
I feel like there was I think a famous actor or NFL player who tweeted on the first day of the lockdown. I think the second day, and he said like, I have been with my daughter the whole day, and I'm going to give a raise to the teachers that stayed with them most of the day. So I think we should pay them over 1 million, per year or more than that, because they manage like around, depending on the size of the class, depending on the age, maybe 30 to 40. Like from my uh, high school or even primary school, it was like 30 to 40 kids
Mm-hmm.
in a classroom, and you have to manage that the whole day, like 8 hours of crazy bunch kids.
And huge energetic capacity, right? Like
Mm,
if we're talking from a spiritual point of view,
yeah.
to be able to hold that bucket. I think of your parents as
Mm.
well, going back to being educators and holding that bucket for so many people and still continue to do so
Mm,
now.
yeah.
They're very special people.
Yeah, they are like, not just because they are my parents, but as educators, because I've been grown up, like in that field. I've been to my dad high school, I don't know how many times, all the time. I feel I was living there sometimes, spending more time over there, because in my country we have, during high school we have tuition, extra tuition of the school. So
Yep.
depending on the subject that you're taking, so you have extra hours. So all my tuition, like we call them in my country, is like, it was of in my dad high school. So practically I was there all every single day. So I knew the whole school, I knew the whole staff, and I grew up in that. But I love their library, because like during the holidays I would like read all the, like Tintin. Have you heard of
Yep.
Tintin? It feels
Yep.
so weird to say it in English. because in friendship it sounds so much better. I'm just saying. I know I'm digressing, but it sounds so weird to say it in English. Yeah. I'm just processing that. But what I was saying is like I grew up in that field and I always heard my dad, like sharing, and I witnessed like my dad would spend nights, like wouldn't we wouldn't go out because he had to prepare for his class, and he was still researching. He was still looking for new research. He was still looking for new ways
But
to
that's
make
days
the kids.
prior to the internet, right?
Yes, yes, and that was that would like involve reading like huge books. I don't know how he did it, because for me, when I'm saying that, I'm thinking of Google, and he didn't even have Google back then, and they were looking through books, like, and that's where I understood, like because when so, for example, when there's a cyclone in my country, like the whole, school is closed, so kids will have to stay. So people would complain and say, "Oh, teachers, that's the best job because they got to stay at home when there's cyclone, when there's school holidays, but they need that school holiday." Like for me, when Juliana was speaking, I was like, "So when do you have that school holiday?" Like when do you actually take time, because that's the downtime because they need it. And
Yeah.
even during the school holiday, like my dad will still prepare in the morning. Like he will still prepare for the next term. He will still look for things on how to improve his teaching. So that's why until now, his students who was in his first year of teaching, when they still meet him, they still greet him, they still tell stories about his teaching because they are teaching that to those kids. And that's what I like about education. That's what I love about educators because they can have so much impact on you. Like they can either make you or break you, like
Oh
literally.
God, yeah, 1,000%.
Because I,
Absolutely.
I was reading the book Limitless by Jim Quick, and he said that at one point in his schooling, because he had a brain injury, no, sorry, yeah, he hit his head. Sorry, not brain injury, but he had difficulty from that. Like to study, to memorize things.
Mhm.
But one of the kids, and even teachers contribute to that and call him the kid with the broken brain. And imagine like you're 7 or 8, and you hear that throughout your schooling, you're
Consistently.
consistently, and you
Mm.
start to believe that you're the kid with a broken brain. But whereas you have teachers who like empower you and say, because I still remember like stories my dad will keep saying like those, and he doesn't remember. That's the funny part. Like he would say one sentence, and those people that meet with him will say, "You said that in that class, and that changed my life. This is why I want to do this. This is what I'm teaching my kids." And their kids now are learning from my dad because now he's doing that. He's continuing to do physics online, which is um, so he's teaching online now, which is a new thing for him. He's still learning, and he's still doing it, which means his student kid are still learning for him, which I find like that's weird.
Multi-generational education, right?
But that shows you when someone is not saying, I'm too old for it. And that's what I learned from my parents. And this, yeah, you're never too old to do that. You're never too old to understand technology. You don't know it, they will go and find it.
Yeah.
Like,
And
and
you
that's
don't
what
know
I,
what you're capable of until you try,
yeah,
right? Like,
absolutely.
if I had have had my boys on a farm and I could have homeschooled them there, then it would have been, right, okay, we're going out and we're doing math in the paddock, or I think the capacity to have outside space, and particularly I find for my boys at least anyway, if they weren't outside and utilizing all of the energy that they come with, was hell on wheels. um, So to be able to have a space like that, I think would be amazing, and to be able to raise farm animals and to be able to care for things other than themselves, would have made a huge difference. I know that my youngest son, who is now 16 and so much taller than me, used to spend time on the farm with his grandfather. And by the time he was 2, he was wanting to go and going, I go, and was most disappointed when his elder brother, who couldn't care less whether he was on the farm or not. But, I think from the age of 3, he was driving 8 hours with his grandfather to get down there to be in the dirt, digging holes, working full days, like a 3-year-old, like going out in the morning, they'd have a little bit of breakfast and they'd go out and they'd do jobs, feed chickens, do all of those sorts of things, come back in, have another breakfast, go out, do some more work, come in, have lunch. I think it's really, there's such a gap, I think, for what is missing for our kids today in terms of it can't always be about the books. There has to be practical application of learning, and how we impact the environment, or how we can be a better impact to the environment. I went to a farm school. My school had a farm attached when I was in high school. So there were horses and cows and all those sorts of bits and pieces that meant that, if you wanted to study agriculture as part of your high school, you could. But, I was a 15-year-old girl and I didn't want to get dirty and messy. So I didn't like that so much. I do now. I love it now.
Yeah.
Spent the weekend in my garden, but I think we need more of it. And I just think having lots of different avenues in ways in which we can educate our children is really important. And I think we're missing one big key element out of our education system at the moment, and that is being of service. The community element is missing out of particularly public high schools, not so much in private schools, because there is a big community element, or community service hours are part of their graduating year 12. So they have to commit to, I think it's like 100 hours of community service over years 11 and 12. But in the public system, that part is missing. And I think it would massively help our children moving through today. When we are of service to other people, we don't have time to be as self-absorbed as what kids can be. It can be very much all about me. But I think if we introduce that element of service early on, which you obviously get to do when you get to homeschool your children, because you get to be part of a community, and how can you homeschool together, or how can you do a bigger group, if someone's got one thing and someone's got something else, then you can swap and change around. But I think that's the one key bit for me, and I think particularly for my boys, the service part. Not so much for my youngest, but for my eldest, being of service to others is needed for him to realize that there's so much more joy that comes from being of assistance to someone else and sharing your knowledge, right? Because that's the key bit about learning, is that we retain that knowledge. I think anywhere up to like 85 or 90% better if we share it. There's like a 20% retention or something if it's all internal and us learning. Like, so there's stuff from my high school, I wouldn't remember it.
Yeah. So in Jim Quick book, The Limitless, he said like the moment you read something, within the next hour, you are going to remember 50%. And
Okay.
then in the next couple of hours, it's going to decrease until it's like 10%, something like that.
Mhm.
But if you don't share, but like you said, if you're sharing it, it just increase the percentage and you maintain it. The more you share it, the better you get at it, and the more you will research about it. But I was going to ask you, like, what is the one skill, but you already answered it by saying like being in service. Like if you had to homeschool or even implement or integrate in the school system, like you said, like about being in service
Mm.
to others, which I find brilliant because it's also reminding them. I would add to that and say, like, for me, it will be like focus on your, like on your unlimited potential and
Yeah.
really dig into that
Yep.
because it's about focusing on you first and then you can give away. Because if you don't really, like if you don't focus on you, you can't really help others.
But I
You
think
you
other
don't
people can
help.
see your potential and
Mm,
help you see it also. Like, for example, if you're going to, let's say, nursing homes and you're talking to people that are in the low care side of things, people that just can't live at home anymore, maybe due to physical capacity, the wisdom and the stories and the things that you could learn from those people, the abundance that would be shared by doing those sorts of things. I think the ABC here in Australia did an experiment that said, what was it? Where they got a bunch of 4-year-old preschoolers and they took them to a nursing home and they matched them up with people in a retirement village who were, some were really mobile, some weren't as mobile, but to watch these elderly people that possibly hadn't had a visitor in forever, to watch them come out of their skin and to try new things, right? Because as we age and if we have falls, or it really makes us shut the doors, and when we're not prepared to try new things, where these people were going down the beach and putting their feet in the sand and in the water, and they hadn't done in years, or catching a train or being with a mass of people. There were lots of things that they were getting them to, just simple stuff, but it was stuff that was like, I can't, I can't, I can't, I can't. And the little 4-year-olds are grabbing their hands and going, yes, you can. This is easy. You just put one foot here and, explaining it in really, really simple terms. But I think we need to add that element of service back in our education. And I think, plus enable those that want to homeschool, here in Australia or in New Zealand, give them the option of a hybrid model, I think, because the mental health benefits for the people providing the education and the growth benefits for our children are exponential.
it's also like the bonding, like between the parents and the children that become like another aspect of it as well that grows.
Mm.
Because when I was reflecting on Juliana's episode, when she was like the way she shared her relationship about her daughters, like there's a difference. You can feel that energy,
Mm.
the way she described it. There's a difference in that. Maybe when she's in teaching mode, that's a different story. But like, but you
Mm.
can feel like the relationship, the bonding is different, and it's about the parents being open to that experience as well. Because if you already have that limitation and say, I don't think I can handle that, like I don't think I won't be able to handle that one day, one full day. But like Juliana did, like it's not a full day actually. The homeschooling is not about a full day. It's like exactly that's why you homeschool, because it's not about being like school, but it's actually teaching about life. So you're teaching them in different aspects, and that's what I like about that
Mm.
homeschooling idea. Like and how she presented it. And with a hybrid, definitely I agree with you. Like that provides such a good balance.
Mm.
And hopefully other countries can open to that, and even parents opening to that. That will be brilliant, like
Yeah.
for for like even teachers, like to have a break sometimes, because
Well,
I
just to kind
witness.
of like
Mhm.
reduce the amount of contact hours, I think is really important, so that, like your father, they can go and research and become better educate, have the time and space to become better educators. I think we burn our teachers. We put them in high pressure situations with, a reasonable understanding, because they're not psychologists, they're educators, but they're having to deal with mental health issues. They're having to deal with, you know, broken families and, domestic violence and all this whole melting pot of humanism, shall we say, and then trying to get concepts into the heads of 14-year-old boys who have an attention span of a gnat. So finding new ways of being able to do that requires time to be able to study ways in which they can. But if we're constantly, class up to class up to class up to class up to class in these massive, particularly public schools like my sons have gone to, where you've got 4, 5, 6, 700 students in a class. I went to a school that, had a massive school population, a huge school population. Like I think we had 12, we were the biggest school in the state. We had like 1,200 kids in our school.
Yeah, that's normal in our.
But at the time, like when we were there,
No,
it
that's
was it was
massive.
huge.
Seriously, yeah.
It was like
Wow.
200, between 150 and 200 kids per year cohort. So it was huge. And so then there's that many children to have to educate. And I think we're learning now more so than ever that there are
Mm.
smarter, more efficient, more effective ways that don't require our children to be sitting at a desk all day long. That, a lot of children learn in different ways. So we need to cater for that. So whether that is hybrid models of homeschooling, and, we've got some brilliant parents who do brilliant things. Why can't they come and educate on what they do? Share that knowledge and experience in the classroom about how to market a business, how to nurse someone who is unwell, how to perform a surgery. Do you know what I mean? Like we
Yeah.
need to do more in education. I think there is such room for improvement that can
It's
only benefit
mm,
all of us in the long run.
because when you see the Scandinavian, like countries, like how they're on the number one in terms of education, like at preschool, it's like doctoral people, like they have PhD that are, like teaching your kids, and they have only 10, I think up to 10 uh, kids in the class, and
Mm.
you get to choose where you want to go. That's in primary, pre-primary, I think, that this happened. And when you go to primary school, it's like you don't have like those massive 30 to 40 kids in the room. You have only 20, I think the maximum of 12 to 20. And so the teachers have time to really focus on your skill and really build your skill. And by
Mm.
that age, they have the kids already learn like 5 to 6 languages because they do that in pre-primary. So if their
When they're
foundation
little
is so
sponges.
strong, this foundation is so strong. So imagine like when you're homeschooling at this age, like 5 to 6, and you're already building that life skill. Because for me, that's something else to add to the school system, because no one teaches you what do you want to do. Like that famous question when you're 18 and then you have to decide which university, for example, you are expected to go to uni, right? You're expected.
Mm,
Well, for me, for my school system, from where I come from, it's like you're expected to go to uni, but you don't know what you want to do. You're not
mm,
even clear on that, and you just go with the flow, and then you reach like, like 20 or 30, like, and then you have that, okay, what I'm doing with my life, where I'm going. And that's where that hit, because actually you didn't build that foundation. But when I feel like with the homeschooling, the hybrid version, you actually blending the social skill, the life skill,
mm,
because you can teach, like you were saying, your son, like spending 8 hours on the farm. Like imagine, like, if it's just one day, 8 hours, and it's 8 hours per week, which means he's building and learning, being outside, playing with his hands, like being in the dirt, and like learning from his grandpa, which is another source of wisdom.
mhm,
And just like you were talking about that experiment, because I remember that experiment, because the kids are so blunt, like they won't hold back in describing the person. If you can't walk, they will tell you to your face.
yeah,
Why can't you walk?
why
And
won't you?
and and that's where the elderly could open up, because actually maybe it's the first time that they have someone listening to them, like
Yeah,
listening, taking time to them. And I find that sometimes with parents, like they are so stressed with work that they don't have the space for themselves. They don't take time for themselves. So they can't listen. So
mm,
we become like those solution providers. And because we are not focusing on ourselves, that's on a deeper perspective when you actually
yeah,
sit down and reflect. Like if we really take time for us, because in every episode we say that, like go and find time, especially for
and it
moms.
doesn't have to be long stretches of time. It's the little
Yes.
snippets that add up, right? So if you manage to take two 5-minute breaks or two 10-minute breaks, even if you've got to go lock yourself in the toilet with a cup of coffee, so you've got, quiet time and space away from every other human, um, that's 20 minutes that you've had to read a book and to have a quiet cup or to just do nothing. No laundry, no dishes, no solving problems, no cleaning up after dogs or cats or whatever animals that you have in the house, just to be. We each need to be in our divine energy, however we find that. So for us, we need to be in flow. We don't need to be in our brains. We need to be in our bodies. Allow the men, whether they're younger or older, partners, sons, whatever, allow them to be in their strategic, working shiz out space. That's their space. That's where they need to be, and allow them to be that,
That's so true.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
totally
if we
agree.
allow them to be that, then they start to feel more confident in themselves. I think that's the one thing that we can take away from what Julianna has taught us, is that by educating our children to trust their own inner voices, they become more confident human beings who can then go on and do great things. But she's also educating parents to trust their own inner voices, to know what's right for their children and for themselves, to then become better versions of themselves. And that's how she's doing it in her little space and corner of the world. Um, but we obviously have all of Julianna's details in the show notes from last week. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about homeschooling, or even implementing a little version of that in, oh, is that
Now I
me?
can hear you.
I can't hear
Yes.
you either.
Oh, I think it
Hello.
was my internet. Yeah.
Ah, ah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so if you want to implement a little bit of Juliana's homeschooling, even if it's on the weekends, even if you're just teaching kids how to cook. It's a life skill and it's really important. So follow up with her details online. You can follow her on Facebook. And if you want more information, her details are available on her website. So it's so lovely to hang out and spend time with you and talk about stuff that makes us excited, particularly when it comes to good people like your parents and our gorgeous kids. Looking forward to catching up on the next episode to reflect on our next guest that we have coming. So, and then we'll be halfway through the year again.
Yeah, we are
Just,
already there.
I know.
But yeah, I'm really appreciative of this reflective episode because it gave us as well time, like to actually share our ideas and reflect. And I really enjoyed, yeah, spending that time because it feels it's been a while because we have been on that run of recording and recording with
I
guests,
know.
which we love, which we really enjoyed, but we didn't have real time like to really now slow down because now we're in that phase, I feel, of slowing down. By the time of recording, it will be like, yeah, it will be, I think, in April or March. Yeah, that's happening
Yeah,
later in March.
I know. It's crazy, isn't it? Quarter of the year.
And then,
We are already underway.
yeah, and by that time of recording, Tina will be running half marathon in record time.
No, I'll be watching from the sidelines, cheering somebody on for a full
being the
marathon.
being the cheerleader. But thank you so much, like for sharing, like about motherhood, because we had a few moms, I would say, like on the show, and that's been really eye opener. And to hear your perspective as well and how you felt about it, that was really important, I feel. And
Yeah.
that's why we were planning to do those reflective episodes because I feel that was important as well for us to take time and to reflect and to share our insights as well so that people, like those listening, you can share your insight as well. And
We love hearing from you. So please get in
please do
contact,
so. And we
reach
will
out.
put Juliana's details again in this episode so that you can contact her if to have more information, if you need one-on-one coaching. She does have a blog as well and a website as well. We'll put the link. So please do so. On that note, from my side, thank you for listening, and I will leave the rest to Tina now.
As always, we love you. Thank you for taking time out of your day to tune in and come and join us on the virtual couch with a coffee or a tea or a gin and tonic, wherever time and space lands you. And we look forward to having you join us next week. So until then, have fun and carve out 5 minutes for yourself. You'll be surprised at the results.
Thank you for that, and we'll see you next week with another guest. Take care.
Cheers. Bye.